Hello, it's Jimmy. I'm going to talk about my parents' history as it relates to money, a little bit about their upbringing, and a little bit about how I started and how I thought about finances. My dad was born in the 1930s. He was quite old when I came along. I was the last and youngest of nine siblings. And I was an only child at the same time, only child of my parents together. So my dad was born in the 1930s to a poor family in Wheeling, West Virginia. He had to share shoes with his siblings. Doesn't sound like they ever really had any money. Sounds like his dad probably was not in the picture a lot of the time. He spoke very highly of his mother. I think she did quite a bit to keep those kids put together and in line. I think she probably did her best with those kids. And like I said, my dad always spoke very highly of her. He went into the Navy at age 17. I think he may have forged his mom's signature to get in. And he did go overseas, I know, to parts of the Mediterranean. After that, he went and moved to California with his first wife, and they had uh, at least my oldest sister, maybe a couple other kids. Eventually, they moved to Moline, Illinois. He ran a small service station, gas station there, and then came to a different part of the Midwest, and he was the manager of a sporting goods store. He had other various odd jobs. He only had an eighth grade education, but he was actually fairly smart. He knew how to get things done. He was very generous with his time, very patient with people, and he helped a lot of people in his lifetime. He was very good at working with people and helping them. And a lot of what he did, I never got to experience. I mean, he did worked with some people that were having some very difficult times in life. I have no doubt that he helped some folks change their lives, turn their lives around so that they didn't end up in a horrible place. And he never really took credit for that. It's just a gift he had working with people that were having very difficult situations. He was very frugal to the point of being cheap, very cheap. He didn't really save any money, from that depression era. You know, I he just never really had a lot of experience dealing with personal finance. That wasn't a thing. Wasn't a hoarder per se, but he would take and use stuff till it was pretty much used up. He didn't, I don't remember him really ever buying anything new. He did get this is going to sound weird, a cordless telephone, I think from Radio Shack. It was probably $79 back in 1988. And for whatever reason, that's something he really wanted. And he saved up and got it. And my goodness, that phone he kept going right up until he died in 1999. It had duct tape on it and glue, and it was crazy. It had this giant whip antenna that you pulled out. And this is a cordless phone. I'm not talking cell phones or anything fancy, just a house phone. I know that's a strange concept to people younger than me. Yeah, you couldn't walk around with it outside the house. He did eventually, he had very bad back pain. I think he had some, I don't know if it was some chronic problem or if he was injured. But later on, he was only able to get Social Security disability income. He couldn't work anymore. And I think um, that really slowed him down. I mean, when he worked, he was a hard worker. One thing he did that I remember was he was a carpet cleaner. He had a big scrubbing machine and a extractor, and he was always running around cleaning carpets. I mean, that was hard work. I used to sit on the motor housing of the carpet scrubber when I was small and ride it around. I'm sure OSHA would have a fit if they saw a kid doing that today. More importantly, I saw him work when he was able to, and he was a hard worker, and that he instilled in me that kind of work ethic. And if you were going to do something, you're told somebody you were going to do it, you went and did it. And I know he later on, when I was older and my brother was kind of getting into the carpet cleaning business, he made us go clean some nice old lady's apartment somewhere. And like he had set the whole job up and like, here, go do it. I didn't think I was working. I was having fun. I was spending time with my brother. And then when we got paid, my brother gave me some of the money. He's like, here, you help work. And I was in shock. I'm like, why are you paying me? This is fun. But I'm pretty sure Dad sent us on that mission, and told my brother, like, if he works, pay him. Since we didn't have a ton of money growing up, there wasn't any talk of it or how to handle it really. The only advice that my dad gave me as far as personal finance was after high school, I went on a trip to Europe and he helped me get a credit card from the credit union. And he said, don't ever carry a balance on it. Don't use it unless you actually have the money to pay it off. And I pretty much have always done that until we stopped using credit cards altogether. I never got the sense he was concerned about money, probably because we didn't have any. So what's there to be concerned about? But he wasn't worried like, well, we don't have any money. So, you're totally hosed. It was just like not a thing. Just wasn't, whatever. We always had gas in the car and food on the table. So things went along just fine. The one thing I will say is his cheapness, it never disappointed me. Like I was never in want for anything I needed, certainly. But sometimes I was like, I think we could probably not be that cheap. Like maybe the thing is broken. Let's stop gluing it together. But I think I learned a lot of practical life skills from him that helped me. He was very good at letting me kind of learn, and showing me. I mean, I changed and still do change my own oil in my car, at least the one, the Tahoe. The other car, I'm too stupid to figure that one out. He was a very relational person, not transactional. I mean, he could talk to anybody. And that's a skill I've had to learn and develop on my own over the years. It just seemed very natural to him. He'd be talking to some stranger and he'd get their whole life story. He'd walk away with a new best friend. It was pretty incredible. As I've developed that skill, it did not come naturally to me. I jokingly refer to it as I've become a weirdo magnet. I'm pretty weird, so I think it makes sense. But I have no problem now talking to people, strangers. It annoys my wife greatly. He would take me out to West Virginia for family reunions. I only remember 2 of them. I think I may have gone to more, but it was eye-opening because he would drive us around to the houses he used to live in, he grew up in. And there were multiple because it would be, his family would go rent a house somewhere. And then at some point they'd run out of money and they'd have to move. Sometimes without letting the landlord know. I didn't grow up as poor as him, but it was like pretty stark. I mean, when people talk about being dirt poor, dirt floors in their house, some of the places he showed, they were not much of a step up from that. And he wasn't ever boastful or like, well, look how bad I had it. I think he was just like, here, take a look. This is how I grew up.